What's good, y'all, man? Hearing that Quinn Ewers, man, is commanding your $6 million for him to return to college football and enter the portal. We already know what's going to happen. I've talked about this situation, obviously, with Archman and everything. They're going to have a game coming up playing Arizona State. But nonetheless, like I said before, when they was playing that playoff game against Clemson, his job on the line. So now it's interesting. Obviously, I know his focus is going to be obviously on Texas, trying to win a chip, be a national contender. But it's real interesting to see. Got a little bit of shade in here as well. We'll talk about that here in a second. But $6 million for a quarterback, man, is a lot. The rules have definitely changed. We're living in a different era. But I think to a degree too, there needs to be more stipulation to a degree. You know what I'm saying? When I say stipulation, like, okay, if we're gonna pay you this, you gotta play out the whole season, including bowl games, right? Obviously, he's gonna play in the playoffs, but you gotta play the bowl game as well. I just think a lot of times, these guys, they get these big offers to go play there, and it's not a problem. The athletes deserve it, but uphold your end of the bargain, right? When you go to the league, you're not going to be able to just sit out of games unless you're reluctant about number one seed, in a bye, or unless you're injured, right? And I think it needs to be, implemented for them so that they know, hey, you got to uphold the end of your contract. Nonetheless, that is a lot of money. Now, when we look at college football, would we consider Quinn Ewers a top quarterback? I would say he's probably in that top 10 conversation. He's had some struggles this season, had some games he has not looked well. But this is, like I said, this is a big time showing for him going forward. Leading your team to a national championship, leading your team to, deeper in the postseason, past the quarterfinals in this round against Arizona. It's going to be very important. You got a really good defense. You got Mabuka. You know what I'm saying? You got Anthony Hill Jr. You got Jade Barone. You got guys, or Jade Barron. You got guys that are good. So if you Quinn Ewers, man, one, you either have a big payday for us college football, you indeed deserve to transfer out. And then two, you can set yourself up potentially if you want to go to the league. So a big time decision coming. But let's look at the shade a little bit. So Johntay Cook, I think it was on XET, posted right here. He says, wasting y'all money for real. Definitely some shade right there. Obviously he was formerly at Texas before he transferred obviously to Washington. Didn't work out there. He kind of left like mid-season and decided to go elsewhere. So, that is saying a lot. Obviously he didn't feel very highly of Quinn Ewers, didn't like him, because, if you're making that kind of comment, you really wouldn't be saying that if you like the guy. So really interesting to see. Nonetheless, I think $6 million is a little too much. That's just my personal opinion. For Quinn Ewers, I think it's a good quarterback. It should be making like, $1 million or $2 million, maybe at most $3 million, sure. But $6 million is a lot, bro. That's like top 10 upper echelon. Like that's talking like Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. Not saying they made that kind of money, but that's the category we're talking about. We're talking about top end guys making that kind of money, or should be, to say the least, man. So that's a lot. Like I said, Quinn Ewers, definitely gonna have a big target on your back. Gonna have to perform at a high end level and do what you're supposed to do, man. Especially if you're trying to get that big payday and a big decision that looms, because if they don't perform well, like regardless, I think Texas wants to move on. Texas wants to go to Arch Manning, and they want him to be the guy, right? And unfortunately for them, he has not hit the portal. And then if you're Quinn Ewers, he's going to be NFL, or you're going to go to a team, and continue to improve your craft, hone your craft, get paid a lot of money, and hopefully set yourself up better next year to go in the draft. Because this one is a little top heavy when you look at quarterbacks. When you look at Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, you got some guys at the top of that draft, that are going to be there as well. But outside of those two, it is kind of open. So it's going to be interesting to see what he decides to do, try to establish himself as the number one guy or not. Carson Beck's also in this draft. So one less guy to compete with if he do decide to hit the portal and go back. But we're going to see nonetheless what he decides to do. Big games coming up, man. But $6 million is a lot.